So thank you all so much for joining us here today to hear a little bit more about our National Science Foundation funded grant project called Catalyzing Inclusive STEM Experiences All Year Round. And we call that CISTEME365 for short. My name is Laura Hebert, and I am the Outreach and Public Engagement Coordinator at the Granger College of Engineering in Champaign-Urbana at the University of Illinois. We have a large team of leaders who are a part of this grant, and I'll introduce them to you in a little while. Professor Linford Goddard is on the call with us as well, and he'll be available to answer questions. He's the lead principal investigator on the grant, and then I'll show you the rest of the team. Our plan for today is to sort of go through the highlights of the who, what, when, where, why, and how of the grant, and then how you could be a part of this work by joining us as a member of Cohort 2. We're heading into our second year of the grant. We had our first year of teams we just met with last night, and we've wrapped up a year and heard about their projects, and we're looking forward to moving into the next year and being able to connect the first year together with the second year in terms of establishing a network. So let's get started. I wanted to start with this introductory video that was created in year one to give you an idea of who we are. And let me make sure that I have shared my audio.
ECE Illinois Professor Linford Goddard is bringing new access to science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, to students in schools across the state of Illinois.
Exposing our students to STEM pathways is very important.
The access we found in these tech supply boxes and from trainings like this one, which include counselors and educators who are being trained on STEM learning experiences at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
This will have a tremendous impact because even the teachers are exposed to what the students can be doing, and they'll be able to take it back and share with the students what they can do.
It's through a new initiative called CISTEME365, or Catalyzing Inclusive STEM Experience, funded by the National Science Foundation.
These are not always opportunities that are available to all students, and so being able to see some of these more advanced topics, be able to interact with technology in a learning environment is one of the major things that we want to study.
The project aims to help 1,000 underrepresented and low-income students gain exposure and hands-on experience in the STEM field.
Students see a lot of other people that don't look like them succeeding at great careers, but they don't see themselves. And that lack of connection makes them think like, well, they can do that, but I can't because I don't look like that or I don't have the resources.
The team study will also go one step further. They'll study the direct impact this increased access to STEM learning has on the students and their educators.
We want to understand if we have these STEM clubs, if we have these scholarship opportunities for students to come to an engineering or science camp, how does that impact what's called their self-efficacy, which is their belief in themselves to be able to do certain tasks.
Representatives from participating schools from across Illinois underwent training during this 10-day summer institute at the University of Illinois Electrical and Computer Engineering Building.
This $1.2 million grant seeks innovative strategies for us to partner with schools so that they can launch STEM clubs.
Members of this group make up the initiative's IDEA teams. The acronym IDEA stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. These teams are made up of counselors, educators, and out-of-school activity coordinators who are passionate about bringing STEM programming to the students they work with.
We had one teacher today talking about how they don't have any programs like this currently in their Urbana high school, and how he really wants to bring it back to his students, people of all backgrounds interested in math, science, or not.
Once they're back at their respective schools, they'll receive sets of these boxes, supply kits, many put together by Professor Goddard himself. Stephanie Miller believes this will open her students' eyes to more careers.
For someone who may be interested in something as simple as maybe polishing their nails, but understanding how even the nail polish component is chemical engineering.
So what we'll do...
From here, they'll take what they've learned and set up STEM clubs, setting the stage to inspire the next generation of science, technology, engineering, and math experts.
Learning that engineering is for all people of all ages, all backgrounds. And so for me, it's important to reach out to younger students early on to let them know, hey, this is just fun. Maybe you won't go into it full time, but this is just something to learn and have fun with your friends with.
So I saw in the chat that maybe you weren't able to see the video, and I apologize for that, but it is available on our website if you want to take a look at it a little bit later. The voices of those who were participating in the first year are, we're excited to see their faces, especially some of our seniors who graduated and were a part of that first year program. So feel free to take a look at that. But this is that was the first year of System 365, and we're heading into year 2. This is really quickly for you, the leadership team that that heads up the grant. We're all co-PIs or participating in the grant one way or another. We have partnerships here from the Granger College of Engineering. We also are partnering with the National Alliance for Partnerships in Equity. And so we have leaders and professional developers from that team here as well to provide support. And then we also have support from some evaluators on the project and some industry experts who help to connect us with our STEM clubs with some industry contacts throughout the project. So why do we even want to consider doing something like this? We proposed this grant project, and a large part of a lot of the work that we do in our various little pockets of the world that we work in, we are really passionate about this idea that that STEM is really important in high demand, high wage careers, but we know for a fact that women and people of color, particularly African Americans and Latinx friends, are significantly underrepresented in the fields. And there are a lot of reasons for that, and there are also a lot of ways that we can do things differently. I am seeing comments that you cannot see slides. Is that true? Can you not see the PowerPoint that I'm sharing? Okay. So then thank you all very much. So then I think Megan, if you pop back to, you might have your Zoom window might be hidden behind something or may have disappeared off the screen for you. So that's who we are. This is why we're doing this. We are really, we really feel it's important to be working on broadening STEM participation. And so here are the goals of the System 365 grant and proposal. So we really want to work on broadening STEM participation. We know that in this 3-year grant that we'll be moving the needle a little bit, but with your help, that'll be moving it even more. And from year to year, we hope to continue this work even beyond what we start here in this year together. So we're looking at this as a 3-pillared approach. We focus on professional development for teams. Our IDEA teams are teams that are focused on inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. That's our acronym for IDEA. And those teams come from a school, always with a counselor as a representative, a teacher representative, and then a third person who could be any number of roles in the school or outside of the school that will help the team to accomplish its goals of broadening STEM participation through work of increased equity practices, as well as through implementing informal STEM learning opportunities. So that third person might be somebody from an outside organization like a 4-H or a community, a Boys and Girls Club, or somebody who partners to provide some of that informal STEM learning. So it's okay if that third person is not necessarily in the same organization as you are. So that idea team gets some professional development early on and throughout the year to raise awareness about microaggressions and systemic inequities. We gain strategies to increase equity in our various contexts, and that looks different in our different locations. And then then each group conducts their own action research in their location to make change locally. And if each of us are making some change locally, then that is impacting all of us all together. You will, as part of this project, we also aim to grow a professional learning network. So we have a cohort from Cohort 1 that involved 5 schools across the state of Illinois, and we're hoping for 8 or 9 more schools this year to join that network. And we intentionally will be connecting all of you together around this common cause to learn with and from one another. And then we want to, then our second and third pillars are around this idea of increasing opportunities for out-of-school informal STEM experiences through project-based clubs and through summer camp access. So some of those opportunities that sometimes that we often find that having those opportunities outside of school are as important to that success in pursuit of STEM careers as what's happening in the classroom. So we're looking for middle and high school participating teams. The first thing that you would do would be to form your idea team, and that is, these are members who will attend professional development together. They will plan for STEM club implementation together, and they will engage in action research for equity projects. Those action research projects are aimed for actually taking an action step or a strategy that you've learned about in the professional development, implementing it and seeing what happens, right? So you collect evidence, you collect data, look and see what happens, and then ultimately that brings you back full circle to ask another question that you can take on under an action research project. Participating members of those teams will receive, will have the opportunity to receive a stipend of up to $1,200. That amount is sort of released throughout based on different milestones of the project. And some things that you might want to consider if you're thinking about doing this is, rather than reinventing the wheel and starting from scratch, do you already have a STEM club or a partnership in place that could use some revitalizing? That would be a great way to easily step into this idea of offering a STEM club. You've already got a structure in place, it just needs some extra work. It's a great place to start. Or if you've already been thinking about, we really want to provide these STEM options and we need a boost to start that off, this is a good spot for you. So the first thing that the idea teams will do is participate in an institute. And if you were able to see that video, you saw that the teams were on campus, and we are very sad that we're not going to be able to do that, at least at the start of this program. But we do have in mind some very strong ways to begin introducing you to the professional development content. But we don't think that being together for 10 days online is in anybody's best interest. So we are pivoting our summer institute to occur throughout the year, where we will have a concentrated set of content that will happen in the summertime for a few days, but then we'll kind of sprinkle once a month around the school year for some full day extended work around the questions and the content. So we will, during those professional development sessions, be talking about best practices for promoting inclusivity and STEM awareness, as well as academic planning in academic planning and building subject knowledge. We'll be learning some technical content that goes along with the STEM club work. So we have a electrical engineering content, curriculum, and lots of materials to go with that can be implemented in a STEM club format. So we'll have training on how to use those materials, how to do the projects. You'll get to do them and experience them. And in doing so, you come to terms and realize the kinds of questions and issues that your students might bump into, which should really help with implementation later. You'll have opportunities to interact with U of I's admissions counselors and some of the student support providers that are present throughout campus. And then you'll also develop a plan for implementing that STEM club and your action research for equity projects. The structure that we plan on using this year, we'll have some online web conferencing, probably through Zoom, unless we find another tool between now and July. In the end of July, we'll also have a platform that we'll use for community networking. So a place where, like a Google Classroom or an online course, Moodle or something like that, where we will be able to share resources, we'll be able to engage in conversations and build some networks of across schools to share that work that we're doing. We plan for the Summer Institute to be 5 days long, spread across the 2 weeks of July 20 through the 31st. So it's pretty much we start on Monday, we skip a day, then we meet on Wednesday, then on Friday, then the next week we do a Tuesday and Thursday session. And then we'll have full days from September through March. 6 of them, and we'll wrap up the year so you'll wrap up the year with that Action Research for Equity project, and you'll be presenting on that at the end of the spring semester. Okay, so for those of you who joined us a little bit later, I will reiterate here that if you have any questions that are popping up for you, please feel free to pop them in the chat box. We'll have a time for question and answer at the end, but you're welcome to use that chat box as well as we go. So that second tier, those STEM clubs, idea teams are going to work with their schools or their partnering organization outside of school to launch or revitalize STEM clubs, but using equity-focused practices. So part of that work that we'll be doing with NAEP, the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity, will be around thinking about how STEM clubs sometimes are exclusive, and so how do we implement a STEM club that is inclusive and brings in students who wouldn't typically have chosen to join us for our STEM club activities. We'll introduce you to that electrical engineering curriculum. You'll receive materials in these big old tubs for 40 students or more per school, and there will also be an additional allowance provided for additional STEM club expenditures. And we will be asking that school leadership works with the teams to provide that infrastructure for clubs, making sure that there is that ability to meet after school or over lunch, that there's space provided, and that there are some plans put in place for that sustainability of the program beyond this first year. And then the third level of support, the University of Illinois hosts a number of academic STEM-related camps, and this is just a few of them that your students who participate with you will have access to apply for some scholarships that are specially designated for CISTEME365 schools and STEM clubs. So we have the Worldwide Youth in Science and Engineering program that provides 1-week residential camps. Some of those camps are survey of engineering camps where they get a little bit of a taste of all the different majors. And some of those camps are week-long deep dive into material science and engineering or chemical engineering or bioengineering. And so students will have access to scholarships for those, as well as the Illini Summer Academies that are also a week long. These are hosted by 4-H, and they include some of the same disciplines for their strands, but they also include biology and ecology and ag sciences, chemistry. So there's a wide variety there as well. So we are in the midst right now of accepting applications for Cohort 2. This is the website, and we can pop that into the chat here before we leave today. This website was also a part of your follow-up emails that you received from us. And this gives instructions on how to apply and sort of reviews the content that we've just gone over here in this web seminar. Applications are due May 31st. And for that application process, you will need to identify the 3 members of that idea team. There's a 500-word statement of interest, as well as a letter of commitment from school and district leadership. And then our hope is to be able to notify schools of their acceptance into Cohort 2 by June 5th, so that then we can begin getting prepared for our July time together, beginning July 20th. One other layer of the that I neglected to include in the presentation is that because this is the National Science Foundation, so we are studying this process. So another part of the implementation work involves different points in the process where idea teams will be asked to provide us with some survey data, as well as maybe some interviews, and we also take an opportunity to survey the students who are involved in STEM clubs to look to see how their self-efficacy and their interests in STEM might be changing through this process. So that is the overview of what the CISTEME365 project looks like. There are a number of the members of the leadership team who are here and available to answer questions. There are some that have been popped into the chat already, so we'll begin by responding to those, and then we'll take raised hands or carefully taking turns unmuting your mics. So we'll start first with yes, we can share the slides. We will actually post the whole recording that we have here. We will post it onto the website, and we'll make sure that the slides are there as well. And then Linford, I'm going to go ahead and let you take the mic to respond.
Sure. So let me answer a few of the other questions. So one question was what math level would be appropriate for the STEM club activities. The way that the curriculum is structured, there are activities at different levels. The curriculum was originally designed around the summer camps that we offer for rising 9th through 12th graders. And what we've seen is that the really motivated students who are willing to take the time to do reading and to ask questions and to participate in the activity, they can pretty much handle all of the content. For a general student population where they may not necessarily be the strongest students in the class, the ones who are going to deep dive into everything, I would say that about a third of the activities are at a level that a 6th or 7th grader, like an average 6th or 7th grader, can handle. About a third of the activities are at the 8th or 9th grade level, and a third of the activities are really more suitable for 10th through 12th grade. And the STEM clubs do not necessarily have to do every single one of the activities. It's just this is the breadth of the grade levels that are in the different activities. There was another question about sharing slides. So we said, yes, we're going to record and share the slides. And then there was a question about who are we currently partnered with. So the year 1 cohort, there were 5 schools, Urbana High School, Mohammed Seymour, and then 3 schools in Chicago Public School District. So Chicago Vocational Career Academy, Smith Elementary, which is from pre-K to 8th grade, and then Sarah E. Good High School. So 4 of the schools were high schools. 1 was a middle school, which actually goes all the way down to pre-K, but they had their focus on the 7th and 8th graders. Okay, so then Linda asks, can we share last year's action research projects? So I guess that's a question for Megan. I believe the answer is yes. It's just a question of the format of how we're going to share it.
Yeah, so I think that we'll have to kind of get things tidy and see if we can share them. And we can absolutely share, I can find some past action research projects from other people who've done these kinds of things. And so if you engage in the project, we'll coach you through it. Basically, you're just going to figure out what's a question I want to know that's applying what you've learned through the educational equity training, in the context of the project that you're doing on campus. And so, yeah.
Okay. And then Jim asked, is wondering about the expectations for the 6 professional development meetings on Wednesdays during school year, ? So yes, so these sessions will be virtual sessions, so travel is not a concern. However, the schools will need to commit to finding substitutes for the days that the teachers and counselors and third participants are engaging in this professional development. So we're intending for day-long workshops where Megan and I will lead the discussion, and they'll be split between micro-messaging and technical content for STEM clubs. Sharon asks, I am at an alternative high school in Rockford. I may start the school year with different students that I end the year with. How flexible are the materials? That's a very good question. So I would say that the schools are able to select which activities within the curriculum they do with the students. There are certain activities that are easier to go with when you first start, and they don't build up on the other activities. So there's enough materials for each school to have roughly 40 to 50 student participants. So it is possible that if you have one set of students in the first semester and a second set of students in the second semester, that you either do the same set of beginner activities for both groups, or you find a way to tailor it to match the needs of the students. Okay, so we can do just open dialogue question and answer now. I think we've answered all the questions in the chat.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm wondering about, is there a specific commitment for the number of minutes per week for a STEM club?
There isn't a specific commitment. The schools in the first year found that meeting roughly 1 hour per week seemed to work well. So one of the schools met Monday morning at 7:15, which was a really interesting model. There was another school, a couple of other schools that met after school either on a Tuesday or Wednesday for an hour. And then one other school merged their activities with an existing club that they had. And so they went according to the time that that club met. So they had a robotics club already, and they just merged the activities with that.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Linda. I have a quick question. I love the idea of this. We're a rural school district, so our diverse culture is not very diverse, if you get what I mean. But I do have a lot of girls that are interested in coding and computer science, and I think this is the perfect avenue for them. So for the application process, do I even have a shot of entering my school?
Yes, you have a shot. So the focus is to promote students from underrepresented groups. So this includes students from low-income school districts, students or schools that have high female population, minority population. So that's the focus of the grant. There is flexibility in terms of the schools that we accept in the program to consider schools that are I guess less diverse. So there's a shot, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's more dependent on the commitment of the school, that there's evidence that the school is really committed to doing this, that they're going to follow through on the professional development sessions, that they're going to be active communicators as part of these network improvement communities, and that they're going to promote the STEM activities for their students and equitable access in their courses or in their teaching and counseling practices.
And the goal should be to create a mix of students in your STEM club that matches the demographics of your student population.
And a better explanation.
That's what we want to see happen.
Hello, Professor. This is Tiffany. we're single mom, and then I am not qualified to teach anything. But I was just thinking, is it possible we can form a small group to teach my child STEM? Because this is very new to me. Do you have to have a certain amount of students, or do you provide any materials? And do I have to guarantee you that I had to come out a project? And since I'm not qualified to teach, but I like my child to learn because she likes to learn, but then I cannot provide her anything. So I'm looking for guidance.
Okay. Laura, do you want to answer this one?
Hi, Tiffany. You and I spoke on the phone a little bit earlier.
Yes.
So we are giving some consideration and thinking about how we might be able to support parents in this role as well. The grant is written for school-based teams, but we will definitely have a conversation to think if there's a way that we can support your work. Whether it might be through this grant, it might be through some other possible resources.
That would be great, because my goal is not to get your money. I'm to teach my child.
Got it.
I really don't worry about the money. I'm just trying to see if there's a guidance to help me.
Sure.
Help me teach, and
Yeah.
I'm not after the money at all.
Yeah, there's we had a brief discussion via email. The idea of including parents essentially in a parallel version of what we're doing. So we're giving consideration to if we can put together enough parents who are interested in doing this, what a distributed form of this would look like for homeschooling. So that's something that we're considering.
That would be great, because I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, to add, like, it's not a function of like we don't want to help you. It's a function of like, what are the systems that we have laid out, and what's the content and how we've designed it. And
Sure.
so that's the conversation that Linford was talking about, is how can we figure out how to add on to help parents like yourself. And I just love that you are advocating for your child. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, because she absolutely fascinated with science, but unfortunately, I don't know anything. And I actually reached out to Urbana Middle School because she's going to middle school in fall. But unfortunately, I don't think Urbana Middle School is doing much at all at this point in time. And so I was thinking, okay, I can't even partner with anybody. And how am I gonna create something out of myself unless I keep looking at the YouTube channel? But then it's sort of lost guidance when you just search internet for things, and I don't know what I'm looking for.
So you mentioned your daughter is going to Urbana Middle School?
Yes. Well, she is going to, I'm trying to think, should I hold her back or should I send her? I'm debating it. But then I think maybe go to Urbana Middle School will have more structure rather than homeschool. But at the same time, Urbana Middle School, like you mentioned earlier, if they don't have anything, then maybe stay home. Just teaching her would be good. But then there's only so much I can give her. And then so
So there are very strong science teachers at Urbana Middle School.
They do? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So so we'll definitely be back in touch, Tiffany. So thank you for being here and advocating for your daughter. Martha, I think I saw your hand go up. Did you have something that? Oh, okay.
So Martha, you're representing the CTE?
Yes, yeah.
So remind me your area.
I work with, I manage the current tech ed grants for 9 high schools in the North Cook County suburbs. And so, and we have, extensive project lead-the-way programs, both in computer science and pre-engineering. But, as we all should be and are right now, really focused on equity. We do have some good things happening. Evanston High School has what they call their We STEM program, which is Women in STEM, that they do in concert with Northwestern. They also have a Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, which is great. But I think that I'm excited about this grant for a number of reasons. It could potentially enhance those clubs, but also might motivate some of our other schools who are interested in, particularly maybe more specifically women in STEM or more of our Hispanic students, that it might just be the impetus to, to get them going. Because we have some really creative teachers. I'm like so proud of the things that they're doing, even remotely, doing hands-on, really, really integrated STEM kinds of things. So really hoping that at least one of those schools will apply, because it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, like what we're offering is a great supplement to those kinds of things, and what they will get out of the experience is not just about a club, right? Like they're learning educational equity principles that will help to improve every student that they reach, right? So the expanding possibilities of this is to help them transform their own practice. And because of the way that we have requested the teams to be shaped with counselors and a teacher and someone else, it's a great piece of the puzzle to start looking at how to increase access and opportunity for so many students. And so we'd love to see all the students, all your schools apply.
I do love the fact that you're including counselors. I think that's just a great idea. They're also the ones giving direction to kids as far as what classes they sign up for. And this would definitely give them an opportunity to understand, STEM in a broader sense, what's happening in science, what's happening in math, what's happening in CTE. And I don't know, I had one counselor that was really excited, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, so definitely spread the word. So you have contacts with those 9 schools, and then the other people on the call, definitely talk to the people at your schools to see how to form these teams. It will take a lot of asking to get commitments from others. So the 9 of us who are on this call, we're all passionate about it. And just realizing that you have to talk to a lot of people to be able to get ones who are going to be committed to doing the activities. So Jim asked, can you speak to what the expectation are for the counselor and the other? So let me first give you some ideas as to what the other has been in some of the teams. So one school had a, I'm blanking now, the team from Sarah Good. What was Nancy's role? And
she's a drama teacher, right?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so
art teacher?
Yeah, so they had a music teacher, they had a career counselor, and they had someone who was teaching special education, plus the teacher from science. And then there was another team that had a pre-service teacher, a chemistry teacher, and a counselor. There was one team that had, this is Urbana High School, that had a chemistry teacher, and I'm trying to remember what Lamont's role was. He was the counselor, so that was that team. So the other person, it's typically has been either some form of activity specialist, so like music or enrichment coordinators. But we've also considered and thought about having like parent volunteers. So if your PTA is active and you have people who are doing classroom teacher assistant type work and are interested in doing this sort of STEM club enrichment activity, there would be a good third person for the team. The question about what is expected of the counselors and the other person. So definitely going through with the professional development to learn how to do equitable practices, and then in the way that you're acting as a counselor, just being mindful and promoting these sorts of ideals and these principles and studying the way that you're changing your practices. Some of the counselors have been involved in the STEM club. So at one of the schools, the teacher, along with an assistant, were the ones who did the core work of the STEM club, but then the counselor was very active with providing sessions about how to go into universities or college rather, and how to find jobs and opportunities in STEM. So that counselor was active in finding resources and materials for the STEM club students, in addition to the technical curriculum that the teachers were leading.
So my opinion of the ideal team would be 2 teachers and the counselor. And the reason is because, we recognize that we're asking a lot to go back and to carry this and to make it happen. And we know that people are gonna be more successful when they have a team and support network. And selfishly, we want to have the greatest impact on your school. And so we wanna be able to assist educators who are in the classroom, who are gonna reach the most students. And maybe that's my own bias, but like that's the kind of goal situation. And so that you've got 2 teachers that can help sort of carry the load of the camp, and then you've got the counselor who's going to help with the active recruitment and the career guidance as a part of that. But really what we want to see is that you partner as a team the whole time, and that at the end of the cohort, you've built that relationship and hopefully expanded that group so that you can sustain the efforts that you are putting into place for the first year. So it's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and it's also possible to have more than 3 members. So if you have a very dedicated group and you want to have 4 participants, we can also accommodate that as well. Other questions? So what are the concerns? What are the biggest obstacles you think of for being able to participate? Implementation time period. Okay.
Can I just explain what that means?
Yes.
So we have an activity period set aside for like RTI that's called MTSS nowadays. So that would be a great time to do it. It's right before lunch. It would be perfect. My concern is, though, if we have to implement RTI, am I going to lose some kids during that time? The other issue is after school, all of our kids are like in every single sport you can imagine. So after school has not been successful with my current science club. So I'm kind of wondering when would be the best time to implement this.
Okay, so explain again RTI. So it's a period in the day right before lunch where you have essentially free elective time. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's study hall for some, and it's like homework help, and like if you are special ed or have some type of needs that you have to get fulfilled through your IEP or something, that's the time period. It's 40 minutes. That's the time that those kids get separated out. But some of those kids I would like to have do this program. So when have the other schools implemented this to be successful, get the majority of the kids that are on board and want to do it? So what period of the day do you do this?
I think your 40-minute period, so if this is every day, that's actually more time than's needed to implement the activities. I think that would be an ideal time. So you have a time which is, it's essentially, to me, it sounds like it's flexible time where students can have enrichment, and the enrichment doesn't necessarily have to follow the curriculum.
That is correct.
Okay, so I would say that would be the optimal time for your specific school. So it looks like Sharon has similar comments. So finding a time to actually meet with students. We have AM, PM, and full day schedules. I think this would really help get our makerspace out, but it's just when. Yeah, I think the scheduling is definitely something that's school specific, and working with the infrastructure that's there to ensure that it matches with your students' availability and also the teachers and counselors' availability. There are also, I think we mentioned this, but I can't remember, there are opportunities to get external funding for out-of-school enrichment programming. So there's 21st Century Learning. There's the other one, which I don't remember the name of it. Maybe Laura remembers the exact name. But there's essentially grants that will enable schools to have this sort of programming to basically add this extracurricular. Now, if you already have something that's similar to it, it makes the most sense possibly to merge it into that sort of activity. So Jim asks, getting the counselor on board. He loves the idea about the program, though it's a question about how the counselor will be committed. Yeah.
So I've got some sales bites, sound bites for you. Okay. So one thing is that the training that we'll have over the course of, I guess, 11 days, right, throughout the school year, is it's not like they're going to come sit and be doing stuff that they don't know anything about. We're going to be doing, educational equity training, and we're learning about ourselves. We're learning about what we do and what we bring to the classroom, what we bring to our one-on-ones with students, how it affects them. So we're helping to improve their practice. But the big bonus piece for them is that they are going to get to learn some electrical engineering kinds of tricks and activities with you, alongside you. And so it's nothing to be intimidated by, but it's an opportunity for them to increase their lens of what is STEM, right? Like, oh, I did this exercise once, and it's going to help them have greater confidence to talk about those careers and to talk about those opportunities. And so it's definitely not something for anyone to be intimidated by, whether they feel like they don't know the content or curriculum. At Linford, I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying we don't have an expectation that you have an engineering degree to do this, right?
No. And the grade level, I mean, there were participants from a school that has pre-K through 8th, so it's not technically difficult to do the majority of the activities. There are some that are a little bit more intense, and the counselors during that period of time, there are other, so some of them participate in that, and they may have learned some of it, they may not have gotten it completely, but there are other activities in the sense that there's the understanding the college admission process. So being able to do a mock panel with the admissions officers at University of Illinois, and just fully understanding what goes into the decision-making process. And the mock panel, you review these fictitious applications, so you get a really good sense of exactly how the decision is made. And this can definitely help with how the counselors are promoting students to go to college.
Yeah, I think that was one of our highest rated segments, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Oh, I'm sorry. The perspective. Our issues just, I'm in Chicago, so our counselor's responsible for 1,100 kids. So she's it's not a lack of will or enthusiasm or even promoting it. It would be an issue of what her role could be as far as the program is asking that role to be. So just be something I'd have to try to figure out.
One of our Chicago counselors this past year commented on how her perception of what STEM means and where it shows up in different jobs was totally changed through this process, and that became a big part of the work that she did to connect kids with career ideas and to connect them with industry. And so that I think was one of the ahas for one of the counselors that came out of this process.
So Martha asks, will there be any focus on STEM careers that might require less than a baccalaureate, like engineering technicians as well as engineers? So that's a very great question. Yes, so the focus of the program is not necessarily to push students into a 4-year degree and go into the specific university. The focus of the program is to build greater awareness of opportunities and careers that exist in STEM. And so engineering technicians and degrees jobs that require less than a baccalaureate degree, but can benefit by having exposure of students to these informal learning opportunities, I think is one of the major points that we want to get across.
Yeah, for sure. So Martha, the work that we do at the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity is rooted in CTE. And so we do take a very broad lens intentionally on what we call STEM. Now, it is true that there's going to be a bias on engineering because I'm an engineer, Linford's an engineer, and so it's just gonna have that sort of lens. But we are, at least from my perspective around equity, is we are really intentional in making sure that we're not perpetuating the stereotype that STEM equals engineering, right? We're, looking at all the opportunities, whether they're 2-year degrees or certificate kinds of things. We want to put students in pathways that are going to provide them, rewarding opportunities and careers that are in high demand and high pay and directions. And so we are very aware of that and intentional about that language.
I appreciate that, because when we look at national statistics on the percentage of kids that go to college versus the percentage of kids that actually graduate with that baccalaureate degree and then pursue exactly what they graduated in, the statistics are not good. And one of the things I actually really treasure about our Project Lead the Way class is that I know we have kids in there that are going to go on to become engineers. We have one that I keep in touch with that now works at Mission Control for NASA, right? But we also have kids in those classes that probably will go on to an engineering technician degree, a 2-year degree. And we have kids in there that will probably go on to a machinist apprentice. So I love it because that's a microcosm of what they're going to experience in the workplace. And all those careers are really important. The engineer is really important, but if he's trying to create a prototype, he can't do that without a machinist. So,
That's so true.
I think I love for them to see sort of a microcosm of what they might encounter in the workplace.
And we encourage in the recruitment of participants for the teams, we encourage the educator teams to look beyond those students who are in the math and science pathway. We want them to recruit the people who have a curiosity for these kinds of things to open and expand their possibilities. So that's a lot of the work that we do around debunking stereotypes to really help us expand our awareness of who might fit in this that we wouldn't have seen fitting in it. So thanks for bringing that up, Martha.
So Sharon brought up the question, could we include a CTE or pathway head instead of a counselor? So I don't know what a pathway head is, so maybe Laura or Megan, or maybe Linda can explain what roles this person would do, or what roles this person has in the school.
Sharon, if you could do that, that would be great.
Oh, sorry, Sharon. Yeah.
Okay, did I unmute it properly?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have so much issues with my internet out in the middle of nowhere. So we have, like we've got the college and career academies, but in the academies, those are broken down more into various pathways. So in our manufacturing academy, we have manufacturing, we have transportation, we have, I don't know, a couple other ones I can't remember, different pathways. And so all of our teachers are involved in some pathway of some sort. I'm in the manufacturing pathway, mainly because they needed a person and I did science, so I said sure. But that's kind of, so we kind of have it divided that way. So we're in smaller groups to be able to work better to get our kids more involved with things in that particular direction. I don't think I explained it really well.
So I guess the question is do these particular roles influence the courses that students take, the application process for jobs or university? Do they provide overview pictures of potential career opportunities
they can, because our pathways actually kind of we've been working really hard to get them to be like adopted by various businesses in Rockford. We're still working on like manufacturing and transportation, but I know one of the business pathways, Goodwill basically has adopted us to work with us for the kids in the business pathway. So they can they'll send people in to help with various field trips or job shadowing, and our kids then get that in with the company that we're working with. So, you know, it's because it's always who you know, not what you know.
Related to that, several of our schools have really dedicated career counselors, and their job mainly, they might not have a counseling degree even, but their objective is basically to create partnerships with businesses and get kids into the workplace, whether that's an actual working with an electrical engineer or working in an apprenticeship, and actually get them to have internships so that they find out before they go to college if this is a good fit for them. What is it like to be in that workplace? And we have kids interning in every field you can imagine, but those particular people might not have a counseling degree, but they definitely do career counseling rather than just college counseling. Does that make sense?
So they would definitely fit. Yeah. When we say counselor, we're not speaking about people who are doing therapy kinds of things, right? Like it's anybody who wears that kind of hat, for sure.
Yeah, our pathway heads are teachers, just depending, like the one, and we can kind of sort of pick and volunteer for which one we want. The head currently of the manufacturing pathway is actually an English teacher. So it just kind of, what do we like to work with? And then that's the pathway that we work in.
Yeah, I think in general, it sounds like they're fulfilling the role that we typically think of when we say counselor. It's just the title is different. So as long as they're fulfilling the roles of, they're working with students, they're working on their career trajectories, their academic progression, these sorts of things that this program can help improve, then yeah, I think it would be a good match.
So we are coming to the end of our hour together. And these have been some really fantastic questions. We will follow up with an email to everyone, and believe everybody on here. I saw your names on the registration sheet, so we will follow up with a link to let you know when the recording and the PowerPoint is available, as well as providing a little bit more information about who to contact if you have questions. And so I think with that, we'll close it down. Anything else, Megan or Linford, that you'd like to say?
The only thing I'd like to add is if you're having a sticking point getting your counselors involved, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to talk to them if they need some convincing.
Yeah, and I would just like to reiterate that this is an amazing opportunity that National Science Foundation is supporting to help us understand how these informal learning opportunities impact student trajectories. And we're really excited that there's such high interest from the schools that are represented here, that people really believe that there are things that need to be done and things that can be improved, and we just look forward to working with you. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to discuss it further.
I have one last thing, and don't worry about inviting your neighbor school friends to sign up. It's not a competition so much. Like we really want to have as many awesome groups as we can fit within our grant.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening, and we look forward to staying in touch.